The next level of serverless is function as a service. Container is still, when you think about container, you are still thinking container inside as an application running in a box. How about we get more open and choose a function as service, right? Function as a service is a platform allowing customers to develop, run and manage application functionalities without the complexity of building and maintaining the infrastructure. When you run container, you are still thinking about a box of applications running, and you're still concerned about the application itself. How about it's just a function? So it's a sitting somewhere in the machine, in the Azure machines. When you poke it, it gives you a reply, right? So function as service is an event-driven serverless compute platform that helps you develop more efficiently using the programming language of your choice. Now, we mentioned this keyword event-driven. So what is event-driven? When you run application, usually you need to manually launch the application. If you want to run Word or Excel, you need to launch that in your laptop. When you try to get your email, you need to launch a browser and query that. Instead of this human invoked execution, Azure function also can be triggered by any external events, thus achieving automation, such as like a blob is added to a file is loaded to storage container. Event grid receive a new event, event hub receive a new event, or a HTTP request. We will see that very soon. Let's have a demonstration of how function apps work. So this is the one that we are going to be utilizing. It's a function apps. So, but of course, you can always type in function apps and get to the service. Here I already created one, but let's create one more again. Just demonstrate how it works. I'm clicking on create and I'm choosing the subscription and the resource group. I need to give it a name, and this name usually has to be universally available. As you can see, this is available on Azure website.net. It's a public website, so you need to call it a name that is unique, globally unique. So I'm going to call it SPU-DS684. Apparently, this is a unique, so it allows me to create that. And I can use container image, or I can deploy my own code. So runtime stack, I'm going to choose Python and Python 3.11. So here you can see I'm doing a Linux, and the hosting will be different modes. Here I use a serverless. There are multiple plans that you can choose. You can use the app service. Remember, this is also one of the options that you can allocate that to a dedicated, isolated and dedicated environment. Or you can have a premium, which is event-based, and there's always some kind of a scaling and isolation here. And also, then the cheapest way, of course, is consumption, which is purely serverless, only respond whenever you have some requirement. So this is what you will have. As you can see, I specified the runtime, which is the programming language and the region. Then for storage, I can use a temporary storage account, and this is more for storage account name, not even for how many storage you need, right? You just need to have an endpoint of the storage account, but you don't need to specify what how many storage you will need. And for networking, somehow some available for functional premium plan. Um, For some other plans, you can enable inside network injection or enable public. So for this one, because this is a testing only, so I'm going to allow public access and not allowing private network access. Then we have monitoring. I don't want to have an insight, but if you want, you can have an application insight which provides you with the performance of this function. Then deployment, I want to in most cases, you want some kind of authentication, right? And but for this particular case, if I choose the enable, you will see there's like a GitHub account detail. You can see different configurations. But for now, this is a public, um, publicly accessible API function, and I just use this for demo purpose. So go to tag, go to review, and now let's create. It started creating, and we are getting into this familiar deployment page again. And as you can see, there are many new things got provisioned. I'm going to pause the video and wait until it's completed. The deployment is completed. So now the function app has been created, and if you go to the overview tab, you see all this information describing attributes of this function app. But if you scroll down, in this overview tab, you will see functions. Functions is the exact component that respond to each event. So remember we said the function apps, the function as a service is responding to event in the event-driven architecture. Within each a function app, you can define multiple functions. And each function responding to the one event, and this can be function calls, HTTP requests, etc., etc. But here, let's start by creating function. But note that creating, I click here and it start to show this. It will take a while, so I'm going to pause the video again and wait until it's popped up. It takes about 30 minutes before 30 seconds before this come up. So we have the development function definition, right? You have the development environment, which development you want to use. You can use the VS Code. You can use the NA editor plus the function core tools, or you can do this in Portal. For demonstration purpose, we are going to choose the develop in Portal. But in general, when you are doing this in a system in a enterprise environment, you want to do the previous two. And we use the version 2 of programming mode model. And here we are going to choose a template, which is here to be short is how you should respond to different trigger. For example, Cosmos DB is kind of a NoSQL database in Azure. This function, if you choose this one and create a function based on this trigger, it will be run whenever document change in the document collection, which means whenever there's a change in Cosmos DB, you will have you will run this function will start running. Or block trigger, if there's a storage blob is changed, then you will start run this function will automatically get triggered. What we are going to choose here, however, is this HTTP trigger, which means with this function comes the HTTP URL. Every time you call this URL somewhere, say from browser or from Postman, this function will be triggered. And with that, choose if we choose Cosmos DB, right? You see here, it will provide the function name, container name. This is the Cosmos DB container name, and then database Cosmos DB database name and account connection information. But if you choose HTTP trigger, that will be much simple. It's just basically a function name, and later on, and here we have the authorization level. I'm going to choose anonymous. Basically, everybody can call it. So we define this as a HTTP trigger. We define this as anonymous. Anybody can access. Then later on, it will provide us with the URLs that anybody can use. And by requesting this URL, you will trigger this function. So I'm going to click create. And this is created. This is creating. And I think it's time to pause again, waiting for this to finish. So after a long wait, finally all this information are completed and the function has been provisioned properly. That long time is about 2 hours. But as we can see, we have all the information regarding the function here. And what we are interested in first is integration, right? This integration means how it um, how it will be triggered, how it can be integrated with others, right? Input, do you need to specify any input, and the trigger is the HTTP, and then output is the HTTP request return, and the function name is HTTP trigger. Then probably more of interest is the code plus test. So this code part will give you the ability, remember to edit the code. Remember we actually said we want to, excuse me, we actually said we want to use this web portal as the editing method, right? So here it is. This is the code. Let me put this down, and you can see the code is Python. And in case you are wondering, this is some common Python information, and it requests the information called name. When it gets name, it will provide you with this hello. If it's not, then you can also change that. This is let's just add this to be maybe we start with the testing. So if you go to the test, you can submit a testing. And remember in the previous in the code, it requests for something for a name, right? So if I put like a name as June, it actually gives the hello June, this HTTP trigger executed successfully. So now if I go back to here and change the return to this is a sample function of 684. And this time I want to save it and test it again. This time I still have the same input as the name. As in the body, we have the name, Jumshan. We run it. Oh, okay. I think I need to change this body to just name. And run. This simple function as this is the change. And by the way, this one apparently is the error, and it changed the body just now. But anyway, this is the, as you can see, this is how function works. And if you go to overview and you have this function URL, this is the function URL. If I copy this over and post it here, you can see this is the default answer from the code. When you request a function without the name parameter, it's going to give you this this message from executed successfully. Loading. But if let's just say I put a name here to here, this is what it returns. This is a sample function. This is apparently the updated code, right? And just to confirm, this is what we are looking for. This is the default answer when there's no name in the parameter. Okay, so much is this HTTP trigger function. And inside this HTTP trigger, as we showed just now, is a part of the function app. It's a part of this function app. So, and we set function app.py and of SPU DS684. If you look at the link, the URL, it starts with the function app name. Remember we mentioned this has to be global because this is public facing. If you have a similar name, a same name as my function name, then Microsoft will get confused and do not know where this link should be directed to. Anyway, this is the HTTP trigger endpoint and the parameter.